Okay. Okay. So, hey, everybody. I know normally we just have this, what we call a diamonds in the rough, Tracy. So this is just our emeralds and above coaches on our team. Like I said, we're going to have some probably latecomers coming on here as well. So basically what I wanted to do is usually every week we meet before our team webinar and we just talk about things that we're doing that are working well, things that we're doing that, maybe aren't working so well, and we just sort of improvise with each other. So it's our time to connect, but I wanted to make sure that I can bring them some form of training on occasion. And I know that you've been through the Bo Eason Power of Story training. I know we've had this conversation, but I'm hoping that you can bring an element to that for them tonight. So I'd love for you to just start with just introducing yourself. And for those of you guys who don't already know, I know we already posted in the team page, but Tracy and I are good friends. We're excited to go to leadership together next week. She's a 5-star Diamond Elite coach. And so she's going to share with us tonight the power of your story, basically how you can develop your story and be able to share that with people. So take it away, my friend.
Beautiful. Okay, so I'm Tracy Warren, and let's see, I'm a mom of 4, and have been. I started when I started coaching 4 years ago. It was exactly 4 years ago. I was a stay-at-home mom, and quickly realized that this was for me, even though I was adamant when I signed up that I was not going to do anything with it. And then ended up sending kids to school, but yet I still had babies at home. And now we actually have morphed into, we are homeschoolers, but I hire a teacher to come and school them 2 days a week so that I have some actual work hours, which is beautiful. And quite honestly, I could stand to have more of that in my life. I find that my days where I love being all here under the same roof, but the days where I have those dedicated work hours during the day, I'm a much nicer person than trying to do everything in the evening. So anyway, that is kind of my life, and it has been, just to give you a really quick bit of inspiration and affirmation, if you will. This has been the strangest year ever for me as a coach. It's been great, but it's been strange. We hit 5-star elite on December 31st. On January 1st, one of my diamonds quit the business completely. And in a matter of just a few weeks, we went from 5 down to 2-star. And tomorrow, by the grace of God, we'll be back to 5, and then are teetering close to 7-star qualifying. So all of that to say, if you lose your emerald, don't have too much pride to go back and get it. If you get to diamond and you lose it, don't have too much pride to work your tail off and go back and get it. You have permission to rebuild. And I just think that that's important and needs to be talked about more often than it is. So one thing that I have found to be critical in my success as a coach is investing in my business. And again, I think that's something that we don't really talk about enough as Team Beachbody, is the amount that we really should be pouring back into our business and not be paying ourselves everything that we make. We really need to be dedicating a portion that goes into our personal development and our training and our business as a whole. So that was something that right out of the gate, I joined as a discount coach in August. I started working in October. And then shortly thereafter was when Chalene first came out with Smart Success. And so I did not have the money. I didn't even have the $40 to enroll as a coach then, but I did it anyway. Didn't have the $1,000 to enroll in Smart Success, but I did it anyway. And it was well worth it. And of course, I know that registration is open right now, so I would encourage you to look into that. But every year I have made it a point to do something that pushes me in terms of my personal development. And in March, for me, that was going to the Bo Eason live event. And I got there thinking, man, this is going to be the biggest waste of my time. After, we even spent Friday evening together, I'm like, are you kidding me? I paid like $2,000 to come here. And boy, was I wrong. By the end of the weekend, oh my gosh, I'm so glad. It was definitely life-changing, to the point where Sunday when we left, they had kind of video crews outside on the sidewalks, kind of interviewing people, getting testimonials and takeaways and that kind of thing. And I was just in tears, and this guy stopped me and he was like, what'd you think? And I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't ask me that right now. Like, I am so messed up in the head because it was such a mix of emotions for me to be in that environment and then leave. And I was just, my mind was blown. So if you ever have the opportunity, or if you want to make the opportunity to get there, it's worth every penny. And I think it's most important. Okay, I'm back now. So anyway, your story. Now I'm starting to get feedback. Hold on.
Hang on one second. Hey, Joella, can you mute yourself, please? For some reason, it's not letting me mute you. There we go. I gotcha. Go ahead, Traci.
Me? Okay, I think I'm good. Okay, yeah, it sounds good. Okay, so the power of your story and why we're talking about that, it is tied to everything that you do as a coach. And this is not the story like, I used to weigh 200 pounds and now I weigh 150 pounds. And before Beachbody, I was this, and after Beachbody, I was that. That is not what we're talking about tonight. And while that is wonderful and you need to have that put together, that's not what this is about. This is about who are you? What is your life's message? And what is your story? Like, who are you as a person? And there is nobody but you that can put that together. It is not easy work to put together. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes emotion, and it can be emotionally draining. And that whole weekend was incredibly emotionally draining. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I need you to know that as you are doing these exercises, you need to run toward the emotion versus away from the emotion. And the more emotional that you get, the more tears that you shed in digging into your story, the more powerful that it's going to be, and the more your story will work for you in this business. So once you know your story, you know your brand. And you know your life's message. And so I'm going to take you through a few of these beginning exercises that will help you get started. And then I'm going to end with giving you kind of some follow-up and let you, even if you guys wanted to get back together as a group or do things separately and then come back together and discuss, I would highly encourage you to do that, because it doesn't end tonight. This is just the beginning. And what he gave us was this entire book. And it's just blank pages that we should be filling and rewriting our story and rewriting our story. So that is why your story is so important. And you have to own your story. There are probably some people on this call that think, well, my life's been pretty good. Like, I don't really have any drama. I'm pretty blessed. I'm kind of scared to do this because I really don't have a story. You're wrong. So get that out of your head. I have worked with probably close to 100 people now, and only a handful of people have gone through these exercises without needing tissues, because it's powerful and everybody has a story. And even if that story is limiting self-beliefs because you think you've had it together all this time, and then you come to realize that you've not been challenging yourself, that may be your story. You never know. Okay, so let's dig right in. We're going to do some exercises, and this will all start to make sense, okay? And I apologize if I sound like I have a lisp. I got Invisalign yesterday, and I don't really know how to talk yet. So I apologize. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to need several fresh sheets of paper. And the first thing that we're going to write is a list of 10. And I don't have my timer, but I'll just look at my clock on the computer. But I'm going to give you 4 minutes. We'll see if 4 is enough. And I want you to write out the 10 coolest things about your life. Now, these are not adjectives. These are not, I'm a rock star, I'm nice, I'm kind. These are maybe events in your life that make you a cool person, or these are things that you've done, overcome, been, things that you are. These are 10 coolest things about you. Yeah, let's do that. Ready, set, go. Okay, does that seem to be enough time? We'll go with that. Okay, so here's the next thing I want you to do. We're going to do another list of 10. These are going to be the top 10 defining moments of your life. Now, these don't have to be positive. They don't have to be negative. They don't even have to be big. And I want to explain an example of that. These may be things that just stick out in your head, and you may not know why quite yet. For example, I remember when I was about 4, I was out at my grandparents' house, and somebody out there said, I was just singing, you know, free, uninhibited like kids do. And somebody said to me, Traci, don't quit your day job. And I remember that. And I've never known why I remember that until I started going through this story. So that may not have, until now, have made any sense to me, but I want you to think back on those things that have just stuck with you. Write those things down. Maybe there are things, you know, obvious big moments, maybe your marriage, maybe the day you became a Christian, maybe the day that you got married or had a baby, or, you know, those are some obvious things too. So defining moments, positive or negative, big or small, top 10, and 3 more minutes. Here you go. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you guys why we have done those first two exercises, and we'll glean something from it. So these two exercises are going to help us look for common themes and an enemy, because everybody roots for the underdog. We have to determine in your story, in your life, where have you been the underdog? And we've got to get that out in front of people at the very outset of your story, because as soon as they realize that you're the underdog, they will root for you, they will fight for you, and you've got their attention through the end of your story. If I start my story with, "Hi, my name is Tracy, and I'm a mom of four, and I like to bake and crochet and walk my dog," like, you've mentally checked out, you really don't care. But if I start with the blood and the guts and tell you that when I was 32, I had visions of throwing my baby over the banister of the staircase, is that going to bring up different emotions for you? Are you going to root for me? Are you going to want to know the rest of the story? Absolutely. So we've got to have a line, a hook. The very first sentence of your story should get your audience hooked. We're going to work on that. But that starts right here with these two lists, because we've got to look for common themes, common elements between those two lists, and determine who or what has been your enemy in your life. What is it that you have been fighting to overcome over these years? Most of the time, it started as a child at some point. And the reason that I had you write down the coolest things about you is because typically when you are doing something cool, it's because you have overcome something else. If I decide to go paddleboarding in the ocean, I have overcome my fear of shark attacks, right? So look at each cool thing and determine, what did I have to overcome to make this really cool? So what is your enemy? I'm going to give you several minutes to look through and think of that. Is your enemy an insecurity? Is there something about our culture that has been your enemy? Is there a feeling that someone in your family has placed upon you? Is there some expectation that you've been trying to live up to all of these years? It's going to be different for every person. There's not a right or wrong answer. You may have more than one way that you can take your story also. Give yourself permission to have more than one story depending on your audience. For example, when I got to Boeson and I started writing, that whole Friday night, I was writing about an abusive marriage that I escaped. But I realized at the end of the night, I really didn't want to write about it anymore. That's not really what I want to connect with my audience on right now. Right now, my audience, my business is going to connect with me more on the postpartum issues that I have struggled with and overcome. So that's the direction that I've taken my story. It's not that the other part is not part of me, and it is part of my story, but it's going to depend on the audience. So you may have more than one story. You don't have to tie everything all in all at one time, but and that may not be an issue for some of you. Some of you may have a pretty clear-cut story, and maybe there's only one way that you would ever take it, and that's fine too. So I'm going to give you a few minutes, and I want you to look through and determine who or what is your enemy, and how is it that you're the underdog in your story. Okay, are we ready to move on? I'm going to ask you another question. And Boeson talked quite a bit about the amateur versus the pro. An amateur wants something for nothing, and a pro knows that they have to work for it. So just a reminder that you are working for your story. We are all pros here. We are not amateurs, and we don't expect anything to come easy for us. We are not afraid of hard. So here's the next question for you. If you were on an airplane, it's going down, you've got 30 seconds on a phone call to make sure that your loved ones know 3 things. If I want to pass on these 3 things of wisdom to you as my legacy, what are these 3 things going to be? I want to make sure that you know. They already know you love them. That doesn't count. 3 things, your message to the people that you love. This is a question that once you get thinking about it tomorrow or the next day, you may find that you want to go back and change it. That's okay. Okay, so for me, mine were, number 1, you're loved by God and created for a purpose. Number 2, you deserve to be able to live your life doing what it is that you're passionate about. And number 3 was healthy generosity. Whatever you've been blessed with, please give that to others. Those were mine. That's what I want to have as my message. And the value in that is how you're going to end your story. Okay, so make a note. That's how you're going to end your story. And that is a lot of your brand. So when you're creating posts with emotion and feeling, or when you're creating lighthearted things, they really should all tie back into those foundational messages, because that is who you are. That is the message that you want to portray and get out to the world, because that's what you care about, right? So if those things are so meaningful to you, should not every day and every word tie back to that? Of course they should. A couple things before we start to actually write. We had a psychologist there on staff that helped us through some of these emotional things. And a few, I guess, tips that she had for us was that the emotion is going to come. It allows us to connect like super glue. The feelings are coming up. You don't talk about feelings coming down. Feelings are coming up. So I think that's a positive thing. She says that you just should ride the wave, don't fight it, and understand that this is what allows you to be alive and experience vitality. Her name's Joan Rosenberg, and she was just great. She had a lot of, I'm not sure if she has a book or anything, but I would read it if she did. There was one other quote. Oh, she says, optimum health is putting a narrative to your life. That is optimum health. So anyway, I thought that was really cool. And another thing I had written down, and I don't know which person there said it, but I think it was probably Bo. He said, the greatest gift that you can give someone is to get them into their own story. So when you are sharing your story, it allows people to go in their mind to their own story, and you're inviting them in. So that it's really, really a powerful gift that you are giving to people by sharing your story, because it allows them to live their own and dig into their own story. So before we write, the main thing is that you let the audience deal with you. He said that over and over and over. Let them deal with you. Lay down the gauntlet. You tell it like it is. Who cares what they think? Let the audience deal with you. Own it. You own this story. It's not anybody else's responsibility. It's not right. It's not wrong. It is your story. So you own it on several different levels, you know, like own it, girl, and then own it as in take responsibility. This is yours. And so the next thing, do we still have time to just keep going, Jenny?
Hang on. Yes, we have a
space is frozen. Am I the one that's frozen?
No, you're fine.
I think everybody is frozen.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me. Tracy, can you hear me? Might be hers. Let me text it to her.
I'm back. Okay, so you guys can hear me again?
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Everybody's frozen. Okay, good. Okay, so we'll just keep going. All right, so what we're gonna do, now is when the real fun begins. You are gonna have 7 minutes to simply write your story. Yeah, I know that sounds kind of freaky and scary. And if you don't know how to start it, this is not a perfect draft. This is just plopping down your brain. Whatever comes into your mind is fine. And you may have those random thoughts come into your mind. I would encourage you, if it doesn't seem like it fits with the story, write it down off to the side. You know, that would have been, you know, the thought for me was, don't quit your day job. That didn't make sense at the time in my story, but I wrote it down off to the side, and then it made sense on the tail end. So if random things come up, write it down off to the side, because it may have some place in your story. So you're going to have 7 minutes. If you want to, just to help you get started, you can start with when I was and go exactly to the place. Start exactly in the middle of your story. Start exactly at that very moment that makes you choke up and want to puke or want to cry. Okay, that is exactly where you start. Okay, and I'll tell you more about that later, and we can hash it out and clarify a little bit later. So on your mark, get set, go. 7 minutes. Just start writing. Okay, so time is up, and you need a fresh sheet of paper. And you're going to have 7 more minutes. This time you're going to write your story, the same story, except from somebody else's point of view.
Can't hear you.
All right, I'm here again. I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, you're going to have different emotions arise, and you are going to have 7 minutes to write your story from somebody else's perspective. Ready, set, go. Oh, check it out. I'm looking at the Diamond Insider. Yeah. Okay, so Success Club, a call with Darren Hardy, a webcast, and then Challenge Pack offers 21-day fix and the extreme, and Body Beast. Yes. Okay, so anyway, sorry about that. I just got a little excited. Okay, so I'm going to actually give you sort of the rest of your assignments, if you will. So now is when you're going to make yourself a to-do list to be able to finish these exercises out and put it all together, because I don't want to wrap up too close to your all's 9 o'clock call. So you are going to write for 7 more minutes. Your next step is to write for 7 more minutes, and you are going to rewrite your same story as a fairy tale. Another good way to write it, if you want to do an additional 7 minutes, is to write it with you as the superhero. Okay? Then you are also going to go back, and I usually allow people just like another 3 minutes, not like a long period of time for this next section. You're going to go back to your first version of your story. See if there are any updates or changes that you want to make to that based on having written it several other ways. So you may want to add things, you may want to reword, change your attitude, if you will, in the way that you've written something. So you're just going to update that first version. That first version is really what you're going to end up sharing with one another, because that's going to be your next step, is to share. Now, I would encourage you guys to hop on another Zoom call, go around the circle. What stays in the circle, well, don't record that call. Although the point of sharing your story is to be able to share your story. But to have a circle of safety the first time that you share it, I think is a smart idea. So then you're going to share your story. You need to be doing this on video. This needs to get out. You need to overcome that hump, that pit in your stomach of you sharing your story on video. And like I said, you're going to start at the very middle of your story. And you'll be able to watch each other as you share your story. There's going to be a part where you choke up. And when you finish your story, you can then go back and figure out, what is that one statement of truth that I need to start my story with? And that is what you want to start with, okay? And if we want to do a follow-up, I can chat with you, Jenny, if we need clarification on those kind of things too, because usually what happens in these calls is that we will go through people's stories and share actually the story. And then I can say, okay, did you hear when you choked up because that was the day that your dad died? That's where we want to start the story, right? That kind of thing, instead of fluffing around at the beginning. Then you are going to be able to end your story with your message. Those 3 things. Does it have to be 3? No, I'm just making things up as I go along. It's your story. You get to do it the way that you want. Now, a lot of people will find that Beachbody comes into the end of their story and that it ties beautifully. And the last thing you want to have at the end of your story typically is a call to action. Are you inviting people to feel better about themselves? Are you inviting people to download your free PDF? Are you inviting people to your challenge group? Are you inviting people to your team? Are you inviting people to follow you on Facebook and connect with you? Are you inviting them to feel better about themselves? Are you inviting them to give themselves a pat on the back? Whatever it is, there's going to be a call to action at the very end. And that is the essence of your story. And that truly is just the beginning, but it is such a healing process for so many people. And it can be such a business builder as well, because like I said, your business is your story. and your brand is your story. So I hope that that has been beneficial to you guys, and that I haven't left you in a hurry, really confused. But we can always follow up. I don't mind a bit. All right. Thank you for having me, Jenny.
Traci, you rocked it as always, and I'm so happy that I'm so grateful that you were willing to spend an hour with us tonight and walk us through all that, because I know you're an elite coach, and I know you have a big team of your own, and this isn't your team. So I value your time, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm super excited about Arabian Nights next week.
Yes. Well, mi casa, su casa, and
we're going to have a little Warren Swisher double date night.
Absolutely. We will plan on that.
This time, no Jeep ride.
Yeah.
All right.
We might have to do the gondola.
Yes. There you go.
Well, rock out your opportunity presentation, and onward and upward. Here we come.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay,
Talk to you guys later.
To my coaches, really quick before you log off, next week I'll be in California, so we will not be having a webinar or anything. But what I'd like to do is just take the next 2 weeks for you guys to schedule some time for you to get through the rest of the assignment that she just gave you. So what we'll do is, you schedule your time, you figure out when you can, just determine what your story is. I would suggest that you come up with two different things. One is how you're going to communicate it verbally, and two is how you're going to write it out for, Facebook posts and that kind of thing. One thing that she didn't allude to quite in detail that I wanted to say is the more details that you include in your story, the more you connect. Okay, so make sure that you spend some time doing this. And what we're going to do is in 2 weeks on our next Diamonds in the Rough Zoom, we're going to go around. I know you probably have something that night or something, but no, you don't. Okay, so 2 weeks from now, we're going to go around. We're all going to share at least a clip of our story and hopefully improve on it. So I'm so happy that you guys are on here live. Really, it means a lot for you guys to be on here and walk through it with her. So if you don't mind sending her a quick message and letting her know that we were appreciative of her time, that would be great. And I will see you in a hot second on the other webinar. Thanks, guys.